Alveda King, daughter of civil rights activist A.D. King and the niece of Reverend Martin Luther King Jr. So first, thank you for being here. How do you think President Carter will be remembered?
I am so glad to join you in remembering a family friend, President Jimmy Carter. He and my grandfather, Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Sr., were very, very good friends. And I will remember and celebrate his life. He was a man of integrity, a man of faith and prayer, a good husband, good family man. And he often counseled members of our family. And so it's wonderful. I was a state legislator while his era, during his political era, state representative, Alveda King, Bill House District 28. So I knew him politically. Many of the pictures that you were seeing now, I was right there at those events.
Wow. So, Alveda, this was a president who arguably did more for his legacy after he left office. His work through the Carter Center, his work for Habitat for Humanity. What does it tell you about a person who's already served in the Navy? He served as a state senator, as you talked about, and as governor of Georgia. What does that say about that person that he kept going?
He was a man of integrity, very thorough. He was one of the few presidents that read the 500-page documents and went through them and wanted to make the world better. He was so phenomenal. I didn't agree with him in the latter years with his political aspirations because we were different. I'm conservative and he was more of a liberal. But just a wonderful man who cared about humanity, and he understood that we're one blood, one human race. He and my grandfather, Daddy King, did a lot of racial reconciliation work. And they just said, hey, we're the same blood, so we have to get along. And I just remember him as a man of integrity. Yes. Right.
So the President Carter became an activist through civil rights movement with the Democratic Party as a Georgia state senator. He also pardoned all the Vietnam War draft dodgers on his second day in office. And President Carter wasn't afraid to stand up to big issues, was he?
He was never afraid to do the convictions of his faith and his heart. He's to be remembered for that and admired for that. Yeah.
Yeah, so the former president during the civil rights movement, he was there at the same time as Martin Luther King Jr., but they never met. Why do you think that was?
Well, we lived in the times prior to the 1960s and 70s on into the 80s, and the South was and still is a little different than other parts of the country. And so there was no reason, because there was no conflict or confrontation that caused them to come together. My grandfather did have that experience, and they hit some of those very serious issues head on together.
Yeah. And President Carter won the Nobel Peace Prize in 2002 for his work through the Carter Center, which has projects in 80 countries, including helping to monitor fair elections and leading efforts to treat rare tropical diseases. He was pretty selfless after he left office, wasn't he?
I call him the humanitarian president. And that's the way he should be remembered, who cared about humanity, cared about all people. And he demonstrated that over and over and over again.
Thank you, Alveda. I appreciate your time on this.
Hey, Sean Hannity here. Hey, click here to subscribe to Fox News YouTube page and catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis. You will not get it anywhere else.